As an inquest begins surrounding the death of Justin Saint-Amour in an Ottawa jail, an advocate is coming to the city to talk about another jail death that happened in 2016. Suleiman Fakiri, who suffered from schizophrenia, was found dead with multiple bruises all over his body at a jail cell in Lindsay, Ontario. The cause of his death was unidentified, no charges were laid, but an investigation by CBC's Fifth Estate uncovered new evidence, including an eyewitness who said he saw guards violently assault Fakiri before he died. This is former inmate John Thibault.
So they got him in the cell,
okay,
and they started beating him. Right away, the female guard hops up onto the bunk, the bed, because it's higher up. Because the four guards that were directly on him, they're all, each one of those guards is at least over 250, 260 pounds. Solomon was able to get up, stand straight up with all that weight on his back, close to 1,000 pounds at least on his back, trying to hold him down, punching him, kicking him, beating him, just whatever shots they could get in. And every time he got up, the only place he had to run was the back of the cell, and I seen him run into the wall 2 or 3 times. This went on over 10 minutes before they called the code blue finally. They beat him to death. Like, I don't know how else to describe it at all. There's no other answer.
The Ontario Provincial Police has since reopened the criminal investigation into Suleiman Fakiri's death. Today, his brother Yusuf Fakiri is in Ottawa as part of a national tour to advocate justice for his brother and family. He joins me in studio. Hello there.
Hi.
That can't be easy for you to hear, no matter how many times you've gone over that story.
Never is. You look at what Mr. Thibault said, a young man who is suffering from a mental illness loses his life violently by against the same individuals who are supposed to take care of him. Those are the last few minutes of my brother's life. A violent end.
Once that story is uncovered by the Fifth Estate, what changed for you and your family? You had been trying to uncover this. You'd been trying to get at this, what had really happened for a long time.
Well, Alan, it was an important step to getting accountability and transparency and ultimately justice for the merciless and senseless killing of my late brother. But we are still in the same phase as since December 2016. We want the individuals that took Suleiman's life to be held accountable. It's an important step to have a new investigation by the OPP. But make no mistake, the step is towards getting accountability. However, my family's been fighting for more than 2 years.
Describe that fight for me. Describe what it is like trying to get those answers, or trying to get someone to tell you what occurred.
It's been extremely difficult. We've been knocking on the doors constantly for the last 2 years, my lawyers, the campaign, asking for the very simple question is, why was Suleiman killed under government care? More often than not, we haven't been given the information that we wholeheartedly deserve, and that's our right. For example, the original police investigation, they took a long time to give my family the police report. We had to fight for that.
When you say a long time, how long?
So, for example, they took a year into their investigation, and even after the investigation, when they concluded no charges to be pressed, they didn't give that report. They gave us partial access to the report only a couple of months after they concluded their investigation.
Why did it say no charges had been laid?
Alan, that's the question that I ask, and I'm continuing to be baffled to this day as to how charges were not pressed against the guards that killed Suleiman. You have 50 bruises, legs are tied, hands are tied, pepper sprayed twice. It's not like Suleiman just rolled over and died. He was alive before this incident, and he's dead after. He's assaulted. He's violently beaten to death. But no charges were laid. And my question is, or my statement here is, it's as if that's okay to do that. It's as if, the individuals that took Suleiman's life, that was part of what they needed to, that this violent barrage that he took, that my family was not able to get those answers as to why.
Was it defended that way? Was the explanation given that level of force was required in order to detain, restrain in order to defend themselves? I'm just not clear as to what the defense is.
I don't know what kind of defense there would be for somebody whose legs are tied, whose hands are tied, and he's being beaten by multiple guards. I don't think there's anybody in this country that would say that the force that was applied to Suleiman was necessary. He wasn't able to even defend himself. How do you explain 50 bruises? And I think the important question here as well is we have to think about why was that force applied to him when he cannot even defend himself, right? And I think, and I think it's important, and one of the reasons my family is speaking out is that Canadians should be disturbed how a mentally ill man who is supposed to be transferred to a hospital, whose mental illness is well known by the institution, loses his life in the way that he did, and the individuals that took his life were not held to account. This could have happened to any family, but it happened to mine, and we're speaking out so another family doesn't go through the nightmare and the heartache that we're going through.
I know every case is different, but do you draw parallels between the Saint-Amour case and your brothers?
I've been in touch with Justin's mom, Justin Saint-Amour. There is a lot of parallels. I mean, both individuals were suffering from mental illness. Both needed to be at the hospital. Both needed to be deserved better. And the way they went through the way their experience was, is absolutely unacceptable. And it doesn't speak volumes to the country that we know as Canada. And we as Canadians should not accept this. We should be disturbed.
You want accountability and changes to the Ontario prison system. Let's take that second point. What changes do you want to see?
We need accountability, and that's what I mean by that. Individuals that are going against the policies of the work that they're doing, they need to be held accountable. We also need to make sure that people with mental illness, they shouldn't be in segregation. They need to be in hospitals. They need to be treated with respect and humility. The numbers are increasing, Alan, every year with individuals that are suffering from mental illness that lose their life in the provincial jails. We need to stop. This is a national conversation. And the numbers will increase if we ourselves do not hold the individuals accountable for their actions.
Has there been response from those at the Lindsay jail to Jean Thibault's statements? Have they been addressed?
For me, it would be addressed for the guards that would be held accountable. What I have received the response, and it's been an overwhelming response from my fellow Canadians across the country of being appalled, of being shocked, because Canadians get it. What happened to Suleiman was wrong. What happened to Suleiman was unacceptable. What happened to Suleiman was absolutely disturbing. And across the country, every place I've gone, I've spoken in more than a dozen cities, and the question that everyone also every time asks me is, what country did this happen to? And I say it happened right here.
But what about from the authorities? What at the jail cell? What have they told you?
My understanding is that the guards that were involved in Suleiman's death, from an employment stance perspective, were fired. But in terms of like the direct communication, I'm not aware of anything. In terms of I have not been told. I have not communicated with the guards directly, and frankly, my family is already going through our own trauma and suffering when losing Suleiman.
What would bring justice?
Alan, a part of us was lost since December 2016, and it's not coming back. Suleiman was gone, and a part of us is gone since his death. But the thing that we take solace and hope is that if there is accountability in his death, that some other family does not go through what we're going through. And the way accountability looks like is for criminal charges to be pressed against the guards. My brother's gone. He's not coming back, and we will forever suffer from that. But what we take hope and solace and strength is that Suleiman's death and his life could be used as an inspiration so other family members and other vulnerable people in our country, their lives are better because of what happened to him.
Yusuf Akiri, thanks very much for being here today.
Thank you very much, sir.